All right, what's going on, guys? How is everybody? All right. Thank you guys very much. Great job, Rob Bernstein. That was incredible. I've never seen him be funny in front of people before, so that was unbelievable. Also, he's fired if anyone wants to be my new co-host. No jokes about me. All right, so, in all seriousness, it is an honor to be here tonight. I love the Soho Forum. It's an honor to step into the ring, and it's genuinely a privilege to be on stage with somebody who I have so much respect for, who I've learned so much from, and it's also cool that Nick Sarwark is here. Come on. That's it, I'm done, all right? I'll start off with one, and now I'll move on. I actually am very thankful that Nick is here. I think this is a very important topic that gets right at the core of what we are all doing here. Like, what are we doing as libertarians? What is our reason for being? And what is the plan here? And this is a very serious topic to me. I became a libertarian about 11 years ago. I was a child of the Ron Paul movement. And like many people here, when I was introduced to these ideas, they changed my life. I immediately, like so many of you, when these ideas click with you, I was like, I'm going to be a soldier in the liberty movement for the rest of my life, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I will continue to do. That's what I care about. You know, I heard Nick recently, I was watching a video of his when he was doing a debate for the LP chairmanship, and he said, as the chair of the LP, the party is paramount. I don't look at things that way. I will tell you right now, I don't care about the Libertarian Party. I don't care about it at all. I don't care how many votes they get. I don't care how much fundraising they get. I definitely don't care if Nick's able to work out a $75 an hour deal from them, okay? That doesn't mean anything to me. I'm just saying what I care about. What's paramount to me is liberty. I care about the liberty movement. I care about the philosophy of libertarianism, the most beautiful, brilliant political philosophy ever devised by man. I care about actually seeing liberty in real people's lives. Now, just to be clear, I don't have to go off on this to you people, but the philosophy of libertarianism is the philosophy of peace. It's the philosophy of prosperity. And as I've come more and more to realize, it's the philosophy of civilization. I mean, what better describes civilized behavior than the non-aggression principle and respect for private property rights? It's what you would teach your 3-year-old as they go into the world. Don't hit other people and don't take their stuff. Yeah. And, you know, we have to, and this is why when you get to the debate resolution, the question is what we should do. And that really gets to the core of what you believe and what you think we're trying to do here. Look, we need to recognize the moment that we are living in right now, okay? This country is on a goddamn suicide mission. I'm not being hyperbolic. We're on a fucking suicide mission right now. $20+ trillion in debt, not to mention the unfunded liabilities and the public sector union, pensions, which make that look like nothing. A warfare state that can't find a conflict it doesn't want to get bogged down in. We've got an economy that's regulated every nook and cranny, a prison industrial complex, and a police state that would make Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin impressed. I know there's some of you guys who think I'm like a little bit too radical. Tell me what I'm wrong. What am I wrong about in what I just said? You think that Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler wouldn't look at what we have and go, God damn, they gave the Department of Education a SWAT team. These bastards are good. Okay? That is the moment we are living in right now. All right? And we, libertarians, have the philosophy that has the answers for pretty much every one of these problems. I mean, I'm not saying we can solve everything, but we pretty much know what to do with all of this stuff. Okay, so what do we want to do? You want to take a shot? You want to try to actually do something that might make a difference in this situation? Or do you want to sit around? I watch these left libertarians debating age of consent laws. I watch the chairman of the LP using these despicable social justice warrior tactics against the people who spread liberty the most. And it's like, what do you guys want to do here? The greatest nation in mankind's history is on a suicide mission. And we can try to save it. We can try to increase the liberty movement. We can try to bring more people on board. What do you want to do? I was listening to the Reason podcast in preparation for this debate. I was listening to the Reason podcast, and they had Bill Weld on at Freedom Fest last year. I made it through the whole thing. And by the way, I love Nick and Matt. I love both of those guys. But there was one point where they're talking to Bill Weld, and they have this false dynamic where they go, there's a lot of these like anarchists out there who want a candidate who can change 1 million people's minds. And then there's like the pragmatic candidate like Bill Weld who's trying to get 70 million votes. That's pragmatic. The idea that Bill Weld will get 70 million votes. I mean, are you kidding me right now? And then Nick Gillespie, who I love, but he says, there are these anarchists who their whole thing is they want to die on the hill of we need to privatize the sidewalks. Look, man, that's not the hill I'm trying to die on. The hill I'm trying to die on is we need to end the wars and end the Fed. And that's what our candidate should be saying. And I will gladly die on that hill. Now, look, there's no conflict between should we win 70 million votes or should we try to convert another million people. We will never win 70 million votes unless we convert another million people, and then another million people after that, and another million people after that. That's our only choice. The only question that matters to libertarians as far as national candidates goes is who can convert more people. That's it. If we get votes without converting anyone, then what have we won? Nothing. Okay, so what are we doing here? Do you want to convert more people? Well, I don't know. You're a libertarian and you want to convert more people. Gee, I wonder what we should look to. When was the last time anyone converted a lot of people to libertarianism? And we all know the answer. I don't care what you think of him. It was the great Ron Paul. He was the guy who converted people. Every one of you knows this. You don't have to love Ron Paul, you don't have to agree with him on everything, but he converted people to this movement in a way that no one else in my lifetime has. So why don't we try to learn from that? What did he do? He was courageous. He was principled. He stood up in 2007 in George W. Bush's Republican Party and said the bravest thing you could possibly say. Do you guys remember the George W. Bush administration? Oh, the terrorists are wrong and the troops are the good guys. He went, not so much. Actually, the troops are kind of the bad guys in this fight, and the terrorists are kind of acting the way any of us would if someone did that to them. Now, that was courage. That converted me. It converted a lot of you. Ron Paul, there's a quote from Ron Paul when they asked Ron Paul what his campaign was about. He said, I would sum up my foreign policy as the following. I don't want to run the world. I don't know how to run the world. The Constitution doesn't give me the authority to run the world. We ought to mind our own business. And I would sum up my domestic policy as the following. I don't want to run your life. I don't know how to run your life. The Constitution doesn't give me the authority to run your life. We ought to respect individual liberty in this country. That was Ron Paul's message. Now, to be fair, Gary Johnson, I saw him on TV just a few months ago, and he said, and I quote, I think the system could be tweaked to make it more fair. That's what we're going with. Something you have to understand about the moment we live in right now, and libertarians, if we don't grapple with this, we do this at our own cost. There is an insurrection going on against the center. That's what's happening in politics right now. It's been building for years. Do you guys know that movie, Loose Change? The documentary that said that the government was, that 9/11 was an inside job? But I don't agree with that movie. That's not the point I'm making. But it was viewed like over 100 million times. The idea that the government was responsible for 9/11 was something a lot of people in this country were willing to accept, at least be intrigued by. Then Barack Hussein Obama got elected. Barack Hussein Obama ran against Hillary Clinton and John McCain, the two most centrist candidates you could imagine, and he won. Then you had the Tea Party movement, the Occupy movement, the Ron Paul campaign of 2008, the Ron Paul campaign of 2012, the Bernie Sanders campaign of 2016, and oh yeah, Donald Trump's the president. I don't know if you notice what's going on right now, but there is a war on the center. There's a revulsion against the center. And by the way, that's a good thing. You know, so often libertarians, we criticize the populist left, the AOC, the populist right, the Steve Bannon. But the message of CNN is basically, well, I don't think we need to go as far as AOC. We definitely don't want to go with Bannon. Let's just meet in the middle with Hillary Clinton and Lindsey Graham. The blood-soaked monsters who put us on this path to national suicide. You know, we may have our problems with populism. I certainly do. I've spent a lot of time on my podcast disagreeing with that. But can you relate to it a little? Can any libertarian honestly say, I don't know why you'd have a problem with the elites? They've only mismanaged everything for the last 100 years. So obviously the role of libertarians, it's so clear. The message that we do is, no. This is what the Libertarian Party in 2016 goes, I know you guys are anti-establishment, you hate the center. We're the ones who really hate the center. We've been talking about this forever. We don't need to go populist left or populist right. We don't need to embrace neo-Marxism or neo-fascism, these disastrous movements from the 20th century. Turns out the answer is pretty much our Bill of Rights, our story, our history. Embrace freedom. That's the answer. And what did the Libertarian Party do? They had this huge opportunity, the biggest opportunity for liberty we could have possibly imagined. We would have killed, in the Ron Paul days, we would have killed for an hour CNN town hall. They were pretending that guy didn't exist. And what did we do when we got the message? Well, we're a couple of Republican governors who were elected in blue states. Fiscal conservatives and socially liberal. Basically, they said, come back to the center. That's what they said. The worst message you could have possibly had. Now, let me just quickly, because I'm going to go too long here. The views that Gary Johnson and Bill Weld had. Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, by the way. That's what the resolution states. So let me just go. Let me make this point. I'm not going to point out, I may say some views of theirs that I don't like. Maybe Nick comes up and says some views of theirs that he thinks are good. Look, let me put it this way. Let's say I found you a candidate for the Libertarian Party. I said he's, he supports free trade, he's for lowering tax rates, and he was for gay marriage way back in 2004. You guys like him as a candidate for the LP? Okay, your candidate's Dick Cheney. You think that's a good candidate for the LP? Or would you go, well, no, because he instituted torture, so that's disqualifying. It doesn't matter how good you were on 3 other issues. Well, he wasn't even that good, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So what I'm going to point to right now are disqualifying views that Gary Johnson and Bill Weld had. And despite what Nick's going to say, this campaign was a failure. It was a failure. The Libertarian Party has less members. If I get less than 5 times the amount of members the LP has on one podcast, I start rethinking what I'm doing with my career, okay? That's the goddamn truth. It's a fact. Here are the views. Gary, and I'll get into more of them later because I'm already running long. Okay, Gary Johnson's view that is disqualifying. His view was that Bill Weld should be his VP. Disqualifying, okay? And by the way, he said they were going to govern as a partnership. This was their pitch. They were going to govern as a partnership with one staff. So we were putting Bill Weld as the nominee for the Libertarian. A lot of people accuse me who don't agree with me on this topic, and I would just ask some of you guys, they say I have some purity test. I think the Libertarian nominee should be a Libertarian. That's my purity test. I don't think they should be a war hawk. By the way, Bill Weld was a fucking lobbyist for Raytheon. Didn't you guys know that? Yeah, Bill Weld, a lobbyist for a weapons company. Yeah, I know it's a purity test. I don't think we should put that guy up. The guy who vouched for Hillary Clinton. Bill Weld, by the way, I'm a professional stand-up comedian. Bill Weld said, I vouch that Hillary Clinton is an honest person. Funnier than anything I've put out there. Never once. That's what Bill Weld said. This is a guy who supported not only the Fed, but the dual mandate, supported the war in Iraq. In 2016, he endorsed Kasich. That was who he was. By the way, Nick was like, oh, well, I think Bill Weld coming over to the Libertarian Party didn't make the Libertarian Party any more establishment. It made Bill Weld more libertarian. Nothing could be further from the truth. It made the Libertarian Party more establishment because they nominated Bill Weld. And did it make Bill Weld more libertarian? He bailed as soon as he was done using you guys. He made fools of you guys. Okay, listen. And I'm going to end this on a quote from somebody who will say this better than I ever could. And then I'll wrap up very quickly. And that is the quote from the great, heroic, and courageous Tom Woods. We libertarians are the inheritors of an exceptionally venerable tradition of ideas that is noble and beautiful. And that carries with it a grave responsibility. We must be true to that inheritance. Enough putting people to sleep already. It's time we finally woke them up. Thank you.